Hello and welcome to the Example Podcast, where we bring you conversations with mature, modern, masculine men in an attempt to share their knowledge, wisdom and experience for you to learn from. Come as you are, take what you need, and remember, you are the captain of your ship. This week I spoke to the magnificent Ahman Douglass. He's husband to an incredible wife, father to 4 amazing kids. Originally from LA, he settled in Des Moines in 1990 and has been a firefighter and recruiter for the last 36 years, from 19 to 55. We spoke about how service to community starts with self-responsibility, the successes and shortcomings of being a father, making the switch to NA Guinness, and the fact that not everybody was Kung Fu fighting. Ahman has an indescribable aura about him that I can only hope you feel a tiny fraction of through listening to this podcast. He is simply the example of what a great man should be. Enjoy this one, guys. Made it.
Hey, here we are.
Yeah. Now I know you live this close. I'll be knocking on Cindy's door saying, hey, can Ahman come out to play?
Come on by. Love to have you anytime, seriously. We love that when people come by and I forget that when people want to be here, that I should actually take that as a good sign. I've always been a really social person. I love crowds and interactions and things. And then there are some times when I just like to hole up and shut everything off. And I forget that I don't send a broadcast message out to the world, hey, give me a day to just kick back. So when friends want to stop by, I should take that as a compliment, that some people actually want to be hanging around.
Hanging around, yeah.
And we spend a lot of time entertaining. We always have friends over cooking out and just doing whatever. Sometimes we're just standing right there eating chips and salsa, but
a little bit of dancing as well. Chips, salsa and some dancing.
Sometimes we get it going, yeah. Yeah.
All right, mate, I'll jump in with the same question that I start with everyone. Yeah. And what does it mean to you to be a great man?
I don't spend a lot of time wondering if I'm a great man. It's like when somebody once asked, are you a good dad? I said, I don't know. My kids have not given me a report back yet. So I believe that there are great men that have always been in my world, in my existence. My father, my grandfather, some uncles, some cousins, whatever, some people that I'm related to, but also a lot of people that have helped prop me up and support me. I moved to Iowa the summer of 1987. I was going into 12th grade. I was 16 years old. And so I didn't have a friend base here, so we had to establish those things. And a lot of those relationships are long gone. But some of the elders in the community that I spent time with playing basketball, these were men. I'm a teenager. I run into those people today, and they say good things, and they always give some credit back to my father, who was only here for 3 years before he moved to Omaha. But they always say something similar to, man, we knew you'd make it because of my dad. So they saw the example. I believe that great men don't necessarily have to come from great places. Great men have to understand what their roles are and their responsibilities to the community, to their family, and to themselves. I don't know if I'm a great man. I think I'm a pretty good man. I'm heavily flawed, as most people in my orbit could tell you. But great men leave impressions, and they allow people to make impacts on them. So in my travels, in my world, I do believe that I have been impacted by some really high quality characters, men, women, children, everything. But I've also made some impressions on some people. And I got to spend a lot of time interacting with high school students and junior high school students. And when I run into some of those people today, and when they say, hey, I really took this from what we talked about, and it had nothing to do with my occupation, you realize you made an impression on somebody. And hopefully they take that and they navigate their own waters and land someplace safely. So I think great people, or men or women, are impacted, but they leave impressions.
Okay.
Yeah.
I heard responsibility in there.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Why is that important to be a great man?
I think we owe it to ourselves first to be happy if we can be. Not everyone comes through the world with the same template and the same setups and the same dynamics with relationships or anything else. But happiness has to come from within. And I'm going to take the long way to answer this.
Yeah.
I'm standing in a high school auditorium or in front of a group of kids, and I'm talking about life in general and what it means to be a good member of your community and be responsible for those around you as well as yourself. When I said, hey, you guys, my wife does not make me happy, It was an instant, oh man, you got to get out of that. That's a shame on her. It's not her responsibility to make me happy. It's not her job. Her role is not to make me happy.
Mm-hmm.
She is a benefit to the fact that I'm a happy person. Good people draw good things. It's rare that you see people out in the world that are just negative and brooding and dark and angry. It's rare that you see them receiving so much good.
Mm-hmm.
So I do believe what you give off, you get back. And that's part of the responsibility. You owe it to yourself to be responsible for those that you love and that you care about, but you have to take care of yourself first. That is the number one responsibility. We can also transition that into what it means to be a good person in the community. But responsibility ultimately means taking care of self, taking care of others. My kids have often said, hey, our friends think we're rich. Okay, that's not the image we're putting out. We're not responsible for that.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't want anyone to think that you're poor by the way you behave. So there's a responsibility in self, is to carry yourself in a manner to which other people will respect you. If you walk through a crowd of people and you never say a word, how many people go out of their ways to say hello to you? I want you to give off a light.
Mm-hmm.
Look people in the eye. Say, hey, hi, I see you, thank you, whatever. That's a responsibility to yourself, is to not allow people to just run you over and take you for granted. Some of my children have bigger personalities than others, and there's one in particular, she's real diminutive and she's shy and timid. But I'm encouraging her to be responsible enough to tell people, you're here. Take a stance. Be present.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So responsibility has a lot of different meanings for me personally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that you started with it starts with self, right?
Self.
If you're not taking care of yourself, then you can't take care of anybody else.
Fact.
But where did you learn that? Let's go with where did you grow up?
Okay.
How did you grow up? And then where did you learn like that responsibility piece?
I like that. So I was born in Los Angeles, California. My mother moved to LA as a teenager from a small segregated town in Shawnee, Oklahoma. And when she got to LA, she met my dad a short time after. And two black teenagers, one from LA, one from rural America, come together and they have this vision of what their responsibilities to a family would look like. But they had this freedom about them. So my mother, like I mentioned, was from segregated town.
Mm-hmm.
My dad, he was LA, there was nothing like that. So here these two black teenagers in LA were aware of what's going on with the Watts riots. They're aware of what's going on in the other parts of the United States with segregation and civil rights and everything. They're on the beaches dancing around bonfires to Jan and Dean and the Beach Boys, as well as being a part of their own families and communities where everything is all encompassing and loving, and it's black communities, Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
But they also had this vision to get out of Los Angeles and break away from the norm. So they moved out to one of the valleys, San Gabriel Valley, where we had horses when I was a kid.
Okay.
And our cousins in the town, in the city, they all thought that we had changed because of where we were living and who we were living amongst. No, we're still the same people, always have been. But my dad's visions to expand and never be boxed, and to not allow people to dictate how you see the world. You have to see the world through your own lenses. My dad had this exploring personality and this big adventure. That's who I am today. And the things that I enjoy when I'm out there doing these things, when I'm fly fishing in Northeast Iowa, I don't see other black men. When I'm running bird dogs around the state of Iowa, I don't see other black men. I'm not going to stop doing those things because I don't see people that look like me.
Mm-hmm.
So my responsibility to myself is to keep providing the interactions and the adventures and the things that satisfy my soul first. So a lot of this comes from where I grew up. I'm not special, but I did grow up in a household with mom and dad. And when we left Southern California and moved to the Midwest, it literally was starting all over and rebuilding, but the six of us were together. So whatever adversities I saw that my parents were going through financially, the early 80s were brutal on everybody, but they were together.
Mm-hmm.
It's better to be together and broke and hungry than to not be.
Yeah.
And even if we were dealing with some challenges, the six of us still found time to laugh and play and understand that every single stop was just like pulling into a service station where someone's going to top your tank and wash your windows and send you on to the next destination. And that next destination happened to have been Des Moines, Iowa,
Yeah.
in June of 1987. And this is where I got off the train. And then my family moved to Omaha right as I was starting the fire academy.
So you were about 19. I know that you were 19, and then your family moved on, and you stayed here.
I stayed here.
Okay, what made you? I've got a couple of things.
Yeah.
What you said about having the mum and dad, ultra important, right? Really
is.
important.
It
There's,
is.
I think there's a stat in America. If you grow up with one parent and you're a man, you're like more likely to go to jail than to graduate college.
Perhaps.
There's
yes.
another thing that's all that for a boy to treat women well, he must see his dad just loving his mum. Like those are lessons that you get from having both parents.
Oh, absolutely.
And you feel that really. I can feel now your dad coming through. I've never met your dad,
Oh,
but
I
the way
can't
you
wait to
speak
meet
about
him.
him, it sounds.
Well, dads are superheroes to their sons.
Uh-huh.
Dads are in charge of subduing intruders and killing spiders. That's their role in the household. But when you have a dad who every single day dotes on your mom, gives her a peck on the cheek, grabs her and starts dancing around the house, but he's also going to work every day.
Mm-hmm.
There's no other template to follow. Now, I completely understand that every single person is unique to their own circumstances, and not very many of my peers had that advantage.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of friends that would come to the house and just kind of look and go, wait a minute, that's mom and dad? Yeah, absolutely. That was the standard. So a lot of me is Greg Douglass. I believe that we come through our parents, not from them. So oftentimes we are nothing alike our parents. I have 3 other siblings who don't line up with either one of my parents, where my system is a little more like theirs. It's grounded, it has a responsibility, there's a foundation to it. Nothing against the other 3, but that's what I chose, and it worked out. Yeah, I was 19 years old when I got hired by the City of Des Moines Fire Department, and now I'm 55 and I'm in retirement. I'm the last person hired under the age of 21. So back then,
In all that time.
yeah,
In all that time, you were
the
the
very
last
last
person.
one. So back then, you could get hired at 18, which was rare.
Right.
But I happened to be 19 years old, and somehow I magically impressed that civil service hiring panel, and they selected me for the 78th Recruit Academy. Funny thing, there's 22 of us in that group, and it was affirmative action. So I'm the last person hired under the age of 21, and the last person standing hired because of affirmative action. So it was an interesting concept that the 11 white guys in that group were ages 24 to 38, and then all us black guys I'm 19, some were 20, some were 21. I think the oldest one of us might have been 26, but they didn't make it. And when I'm asked, which I don't know if you would ask me or not, why did I make it? I look back over my shoulder and say it's because of where I come from. I came from a foundation of discipline and structure. That made it easy for me to translate as a 19-year-old kid working in a fire station alongside men that served in Korea. It made it easy for me to realize there's an end to this. The fire department back then wasn't so kind. My first captain was 2 years removed from World War II. Yeah, he was born he was on the job before my parents were born. And then you had that culture that did not want minorities at all. So there were black firefighters in the 1890s all the way up into the early 1920s, and then they were completely gone off the payroll until 1967. 3 black men came through the door in 1967, and they caught hell. It was not an easy place to be. And when they were finally gone and off the payroll, affirmative action NAACP court-ordered injunctions came through in 1982 and said, you will diversify this pool of people. And because of that, I got hired in 1990.
1990.
Yeah, 1990. You weren't born yet.
1 year removed, mate. I was December 91.
Yes.
How did you know that's what you wanted to do? How did you know that was the career for you? Because the last time we saw each other was at that R party.
Yeah.
Where you were
Yeah.
dressed impeccably.
Oh, thank you.
And
So are you,
yeah,
man.
you let me know that I was as well. Made me feel about 10 feet tall.
That's who you are.
But I sat next to a man, I can't remember his name. And he was telling me the job that he did, and it was something insurance, law, buildings. I wasn't quite sure. But a job that he sort of laboured through telling me what it was. And I asked him, well, what did you want to do? And he said, be a firefighter.
Wow.
And he was older than me. He's probably late 40s. And I was like, I could feel it from him that he really wishes that he would have been a firefighter. I thought about it at the time. I don't know if I told you that.
No, you didn't.
So how did you know at 19 that, hey, this is what I want to do?
Well, this is interesting. I understand now that not everybody can do that job. Not everybody could be an educator also. I was not interested in college, and I was working at Principal Financial. And there was somebody that I knew, and we played a lot of basketball together, and he was 1 year older than me, and he was hired 1 year before me. And I would run into him here and there, and he was always fit, and he always had money, and he had a nice car, and women were not an issue. So I just asked, well, what is it that you do? And he told me, and he said, you should check this out. That was the furthest thing from my mind.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up in a house where my parents weren't special, but my dad was not from a trade. He was not blue collar. He was a businessman his whole life. But something like that just wasn't even spoken around me. Just like neither was the military. Like that was not a conversation I'd ever heard.
Yeah.
So for Darren to suggest that to me, I had to let that go in one ear and out the other. And then finally I said, you know what, I'm going to give this a shot. I don't know that it was ever the right job for me. I really don't. I believe that if you were to poll all of my peers for the last 35 and a half years, I believe they'd say, oh yeah, Ahman is good at his job. But I don't think it was ever the right calling for me. We have to see some things that are hard to describe. We have to endure some family stresses, just the rigors of the emotions that it takes to survive that. I can't say that it's right for me, but I survived it. And as the person who gets to do what I get to do for the fire department, and that is recruit. Go to high schools, go to every job fair, go to colleges, run my mouth, do whatever I can to sell people on it. But I never, ever, ever tell people about the hero that you get to be. It's not about that. That's the smallest part of our job. It's about responsibility to community. And if you're from this town, this is your city, what better way do you say thank you to all of the educators and neighbors and postal carriers and people that know you by name, your barber, whatever? How do you say thank you and give something back to them? You put on the uniform of either a Des Moines police officer or Des Moines firefighter, and you say, no, I got your back. My job has allowed me to grow in many ways, from not just in my age, but just emotionally and maturing. 19-year-old kid making what we thought was a lot of money back then compared to today's salaries, you can lose sight of some things that are pretty important. I think it took me to be in the fire station one day, and I can tell you it would have been January 20th, 1991. It was my first day in the station, and it was a Sunday. I was assigned to Station 9. We had one call in that entire day. And I just graduated from the academy on Friday, so I never saw these people, didn't understand how the fire station worked, but we had a garage fire right around the corner from the fire station, and I got to put that fire out by myself. And I thought, uh-oh, this is it. This is where I belong. But you grow through that. You realize later on that it's not about saving someone's property. It's not about being there to tell someone that their loved ones are deceased. It's not about any of the chaos. It's about, I have a platform to stand on. When children that look like me see me, they get an idea that this is something that is attainable. You know, in the last 6 years, we have hired many people that either they or their parents were born in Central or South America, and they're fluent in other languages. We are becoming more and more diverse, and we're getting better. This is not the 1990 fire department where 85% of those people were uneducated and from the trades. No, now we have many people that highly educated from different backgrounds and willing to move to Central Iowa from all parts of the United States. And with them, they're bringing their cultures, their languages, we don't all pray the same, vote the same, or even love the same. And that's what makes the Des Moines Fire Department so good. And we're getting better. My generation, we're fading out fast. But, here comes this new wave of talent. And it isn't just talent to do a job, it's talent to be a good human being. That's what's important, is just being a good person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You optimistic about the future of the fire department?
I am, because my daughter is in there. She's in the academy as we speak. And she's diverse, obviously, but just her generation, they're educated. They've been exposed to more. They've traveled more. They are more accepting of diversity. And so I do believe that in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, we really will look a lot more like the community itself.
Yeah.
But, the fire department is what I've done for all these years, but it is not who I am. It is the smallest part of me, actually. Even though a lot of people still associate fire department, Ahman Douglass, that's the smallest part of who I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said that it might not be for you, like it wasn't for you. If you could go back, be 20 again.
I'd still have some college eligibility. I'd go try to play college basketball again.
Would you, yeah?
Yeah, even though nowadays you see there are people 29 years old playing college basketball. And some guys that have actually been in the NBA can go back. I don't know. I would probably do it again, but I would approach it with a different mentality. I wouldn't be so naive.
What do you mean by that, mate?
Okay, so as an example, I'd walk into a fire station I'd have to leave my station and go fill in someplace else. And middle of the day, all these good old boys who are just flat back and watching TV with their feet up. I'd walk in and sit down, and within a couple of minutes, the room was empty. And it took me a while to understand that. So one day I mentioned that to somebody who says, well, they think that you took their son's jobs. I thought, this is 20-year-old me. So naturally, here comes this rage and this anger. But smart aleck me says, well, are their sons black? Because I was competing against 1,500 other applicants, and 750 of them were black. Their sons that are still roofing houses and pouring cement were competing against 750 white men that got the job. So they're taking it out on the wrong person. So I was naive in thinking that all the smiling faces and pats on the backs and high fives and all that were genuine and authentic. No, they really weren't. So that generation of men were hired in the 1950s, and they were part of that. Hey, move over. Here comes a woman firefighter and 6 black firefighters in 1982. So they were forced to stand aside. And they were still taking that out on me 8 years after that injunction came through. So I think I would not have been so willing to be so friendly. My nature, I'm just naturally friendly.
Yeah.
You have to burn me in order for me to not want to be in your presence. But I do believe that I went out of my way back then to be kind.
Yeah.
And instead of a little more rigid. There was a woman that got hired with me, and she was a woman of color, and she was a lesbian. She had it really tough, and I didn't have the maturity to stand up for her or to defend her and look at her as, that's my sister, that's my friend. I was a kid.
Yeah,
I was probably just going, I'm glad it's not me, but it was me. I just didn't know it was me. So,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
You said there about stresses on your family. Obviously, you're married to Cindy.
I'm married to Cindy
for 22 years.
Coming up, yeah.
So you were 33. When you
we met when we were 31.
31?
Yep. And we were set up on a blind date by a friend of mine who was also worked with me, a firefighter.
Okay.
And Cindy's sister-in-law and his sister-in-law were good friends. And I graduated with his sister-in-law. And somehow they thought that the two of us should meet. And it was May 18th, 2002. And it was just, here we are.
What was the first date I had? Because I've been on walks with Cindy. And I thought the first date was a cinema. To watch a chick flick.
No.
Or was that one of the early ones?
So she has this thing about this movie, Serendipity. So we did watch that together. I think that's her all-time favorite movie. But no, our first date, so we met on this blind date, and I didn't think she liked me. She stood all night long with her arms folded like this. And I'm laughing, funny, telling jokes and stuff, and not jokes, but there was just nothing. There was just nothing from her, and I'm like, well, whatever, I'm okay. But no, our first date, we went out. I took her to a housewarming party of a friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Cindy's put up with a lot. I mean, a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. Being married to someone in the fire service is challenging, and sure
Okay.
enough, yes, there are all the stereotypes that married couples are going to suffer because of the schedule and accessories and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps some of that's true. I don't know. But when you're gone for 24 hours at a time, your relationship has to be pretty stable.
Yeah.
And if it's fragile, there aren't too many chances
You're
of
going to
it
get found
surviving.
out.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get found out. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The worrying about, hey, middle of the night, somebody goes on a call doesn't go well. You hear about it the next morning on the news before your loved one comes walking through the door, and you're wondering, how close were you? Could it have been you? There's always that. But Cindy has just been amazing, and she's an incredible mom to 4 beautiful human beings.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh. She's a very interesting person. She's the third of 4 kids, and there's a gap of 14 years between her and the last one. So in her mind, she's the last one, and she kind of acts like it at times. But her ability to love unconditionally and make room in her chest for other people blows my mind.
Mm-hmm.
I always joke with her that all of her organs must just be smashed down into one lower part, because the rest of that gigantic torso, not size-wise, but the rest of it just must be
filled with heart.
She is hands down the most unique person I've ever met, in just her ability to keep going. No matter what it is, there could be not a bump in the road, but a mountain in the road, and she's going to keep going. She's really super headstrong, but her ability to love not just us, but those students of hers.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, she internalizes some things. Yeah, you can hear that mountain lion over there. Yeah, but yeah.
She spoke about when this is months ago now, must have been last year. She spoke about she was super impressed with the little things that you did. Like, if we're walking on the path, you walk on the roadside. Get in her door. If you're going to drive somewhere, you would be the one driving.
Aw.
Why was it important to you to do that type of thing?
I honestly, I never thought about those things.
Yeah.
They're just natural reactions. When her and I go for walks on the sidewalk or on the street or something, I always make sure she's on the inside of a car that's going to veer off the road and hit us. It's going to hit both of us, but it might as well hit me first. It's my role to be the protector. Maybe that sounds sexist and sounds outdated, but I believe that if her and I are walking someplace and there's a confrontation, it better be me taking the blows.
Mm-hmm.
It better be me trying to talk us out of it. It's just important to me. It reaffirms my place, and it makes me believe that I'm doing the right thing. If I subconsciously go, that's right, I am always driving, I shouldn't expect her to have to drive, especially now with what we've been dealing with. Going from here, and it's almost a 3-hour drive back to where we need to go to be with her dad. That there's a lot of emotion in that. There's a lot of emotion from driveway to driveway to driveway. Mm-hmm. The buildup of how's dad going to be when we get there, and then it's really hard when we leave. I don't expect her to drive, not at all. Even when we'd go get, just groceries or whatever, it's just the way it is.
Yeah.
But that's what I saw. I always saw that. My mom would drive, and Cindy drives on occasions, but it's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And
We feel good when we get to take care of someone. Men feel at their best when they can take care of someone and take responsibility for someone else.
I think we're done here. I think we can shut it off. That is the most perfect thing you've said that I'm going to hear. Not just what you've said, but you're right. We feel something when we know that we're taking care of business. It's never about the financials of a relationship or a household or marriage or anything, but there is a good feeling knowing that the foundation that the Douglasses are standing on, I may have laid that cornerstone.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no braggadocio in that, but it just feels good. Yeah.
We'll stay on that for a minute, mate, because Cindy recently lost her mum.
She did.
And that's been very difficult. You mentioned there driving the 3 hours to check in with her dad and back. How have you been able to support her through that?
Oh, man. the best thing we can do in a relationship is just be available. That's it. If someone ever asks, what is your best ability? Your best ability is availability. And that's your most important one. This is delicate right now. It's been since January 4th, and Cindy had just spoke to her mother a couple hours prior to her mom passing away. Luckily, I've watched every single conversation and visit ends with, and I love you. Mm-hmm. And they'll jock you to get the last one in. So there's no doubt that Cindy's mom, there's no doubt that she knew 100% Cindy loved her. And it was mutual. But being willing to spend as much time as we have been up there, and I haven't gone every time Cindy's gone back for little things. I haven't made the trip every time, but I've, every day to me is a Sunday because I'm not going to work. Mm-hmm. So, excuse me, there's nothing that can stop me from being there for her and realizing that her reality with her father's age and his condition slowly is diminishing because he's almost 90. She needs, without having to ask for it, she needs another person, her husband, who is the second, if not, I don't know how you rank dads and husbands, but this role needs to be there.
Yeah.
Even if, pardon me, if it's just to drive and listen while she exhales and cries about her feelings, then you just go with that.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of men maybe struggle to sit in that, and we want to solve, right? We're fixers.
Yes.
So sometimes we jump too quick to fixing
Yes.
rather than just listening.
Yes.
Like we said there about the availability.
I'm learning through this because every situation is a chance to be educated, you know, on someone's passing, and you're looking at someone that you care so much about, and you're watching how they're reacting to now all of a sudden there's this void. There's something that's gone. It's not missing. Missing means we can go get it. It's gone. You're learning more about that person and watching how they're coping. And you're learning about yourself and how you're reacting and responding to those needs. I don't know if anyone has a blueprint or a book or a manual on pardon me, if my spouse's partner or husband or father, or mother passes away, this is how I'm going to react. No, it's circumstantial. Be present. And you're right about being a fixer, being a solver. I've got the answer. I've got the tools. Sometimes those answers and tools are, don't say a word, just be near. When you see that there's a rough moment, it may just be stand a little closer or just a hand gesture or something like that. This is a unique time, but it's something that doesn't have a timeline. You know, grief is unique to everyone, and there's no plan. So she apologizes so often for having outbursts or moments where something just gets her. So, babe, don't you ever apologize for that. You don't owe anyone anything. This is yours, and we're here. Yeah. And it would be the exact same if it were the other way around. It'd be the exact same, probably even more heartfelt.
Yeah.
You know, I'm an emotional person. I don't cry from pain. Well, man, I was in a lot of agony, but my emotions get me. And the older I get, I'm coming to grips more and more and more with the fact that a memory, or thinking about one of my children, it can trigger me to cry, and I'm not bashful about it. I'm not hiding. I'm not wiping tears. Oh, I gotta get it together. Heck, no way. That's the healthiest thing a human being could do, is express themselves like that.
Yeah. That's funny. I'll come back to that in a little bit. Because when I wrote the exit, I was like, this morning, I was like, what's going on here? I was like, mate, why am I tearing up? I didn't know what was happening. Your son, Max.
Yes.
The 6'7"
Yeah.
champion.
Max
has had a lot of difficulties health-wise. How have you supported him through that? How has it made you feel? How have you, again, supported Cindy and basically the whole family? Because it's everyone, right? It's everyone, and you're at the base.
Mm-hmm. You know, when this whole thing started with Max, he was 11, and I'm trying to recall, but when people get diagnosed with this, it's typically age 11 to 60, and sure enough, he was 11. This was his welcome to the world gift. You know, Max was a perfect human being to me, to his mother, I'm sure. You know, he has some difficulties, but they're not like what we've seen in Iowa City. So he's had, I think, 13 surgeries and 53 trips to the university hospitals for these different procedures he's got to get done for his condition. But every time we're there, I get a reminder what sick kids look like and what their worlds are like. He's only been there a few times, that 52 trips that both of us weren't there. So we have the resources, we have the ability to be wherever he needs to be. We have all the backing in the world. There are people that don't have this. And you get reminders when you see them and you hear these parents trying to figure out how they're going to navigate to come back from Lyon County, Iowa to Johnson County, Iowa, whatever. Watching him deal with this, he has not once said, "Why me?" But of the 4 kids, if one of them had to have it, it would have had to been Max because of his disposition. You know, the girls are different personalities and different wirings. Max is so dialed in and has an ability to just take things in, which I'm very expressive. He's not. But at his age, I would have been screaming and crying, "This is crap, this is foul, why me, why did I get this," whatever. But he's just been really reserved with it. Gorlin syndrome is not fun at all. I can't imagine the word syndrome being attached to anything fun, but watching Max has helped me to understand me and makes me really stop responding to things with an instant emotion at all times. I still do, but at all times, something doesn't get an instant emotion. Gets a moment to think about it and process it. And I don't know if anyone might say, "Hey, Ahman, well, how does that tie into what Max is doing and how you're reacting to the world?" But it just does when you have someone that you love so much, a child who you know for a fact their road ahead is going to always have these challenges. You can't fix that. I've had coworkers that buried their children, you know, born with illnesses.
Yeah.
And they've lived a parent's worst fear, and that is the loss of a child. I'm not going to lose a child over this, but it's the fact that this is mine, and in my world, he's supposed to be perfect. Well, he is. He's perfectly Maxwell. And the condition he has, he finally explained it to a young lady that he's sweet on. And, you know, he just wanted her to know what he's got going on. Because genetically, 100%, he's going to pass this on. But yet, neither Cindy nor his sisters or I, none of us carry it. So 1 in a 10 or 11,000 people just, ta-da, this is you.
Yeah.
And it happened to be this one.
That's interesting about the why me.
The why
Because
me.
I've had, I don't know, 9 knee operations now. And after the first one, I can remember being on the phone to Mum because I came to America to play soccer. And, you know, his first full season was amazing. I just got back after winter. And then tore my ACL playing indoor for a stupid reason. And then I remember being on the phone to my mum and I was like, "Why me?" And she was like, "Matthew, why not you?" And I was like, "Oh,
that's interesting.
thank
why
you.
not you?
Why not me?
Yeah,
why
how many
not you?"
billions of people are on the planet? Yeah, why not me? Yeah, that's interesting. I like that.
Yeah,
I like
it
that.
stuck
Why
me a
not
little bit. It sounds there, mate, what you're talking about taking a real frame of gratitude from others' experience, from seeing the sick kids. Is that always been something you've done, or is that something that these life lessons have brought to you?
That right there.
Yeah.
Life lessons are brought to me. I've always understood that the world is different and it's not always fair. You know, some people are born with that silver spoon and fork in their mouths, and others don't even have plasticware. I get that. I've always believed that my world is right down the middle. It's not black nor white, not gray, not up, down, whatever. My favorite color is gray because it's just right down the middle. But just dealing with this for the last, he's 18 now, for the last 7 years, it really has grounded me. But it's also made me realize some other things about myself. Can't use Max's situation, as a crutch. Can't use Max's situation as a reason to not be so good. And you know, I am who I am, but you know, my parents weren't very charitable, meaning they didn't go volunteer their time at churches or food pantries or anything like that. But we understood that children around us may not have had what we had.
Mm-hmm.
So understanding and seeing how different lives can be, and then not always to come back to where I work, but you know, being in some homes where I can't even describe the conditions,
Mm-hmm.
and then being in others where, man, I'd eat off this floor.
Yeah.
Puts you right back in the middle to where you have to be grounded and balanced and realize you can't treat this person that has everything any different than you treat the person that has nothing. So now Max's situation just comes right back to your face to where you have to be more appreciative and grateful.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as a person who loves a clean environment, that's a teenage boy who might leave a sock in the middle of his floor, and instead of saying, "Man, what are you thinking? Come on, man, pick it up." That's only important to me,
Mm-hmm.
not important to him. So what am I doing? And in the grand scheme of things, there are parents who will never pick that sock up off the floor because that child is no longer living, and that's their only reminder of the moment that that kid was there. I have to come back to the fact that I have a son who has a condition. He is healthy, he is intelligent, he is bright, he is loving, he is all things you want a child to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See, now this gets me.
Yeah.
Talking about that gets me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm good. Let's roll.
We
But,
are rolling. You're good.
I just forget. Sometimes I get that. Ah, dang it, man! How did you get on him for leaving a water bottle in the car? Who cares?
Is that what makes you feel a little emotional now? Like times where maybe you felt you could have done better?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, as a parent, you always wonder what you could do better. But like we said early on, you don't know if you're doing it right until they turn around and tell you, "Hey, good job with me,"
Mm-hmm.
or "Not so good here." But you just try to keep your axis pointed north and keep going. But it's good.
Yeah.
I've been called a lot of things, title wise. Nothing beats somebody calling you dad.
Yeah.
Dad, tie my shoe. Hey, Dad, can you help me? Yeah, you can't beat that.
We're enjoying.
You broke me, man.
Yeah,
You made me great character.
I was enjoying that.
But
for a
don't
minute.
forget, I'm a classically trained actor from the theater. Of London, so this
That's
is
what it is. That's what it is.
This is my stage training. Yeah,
We're enjoying Guinness NAs right now.
absolutely. I can use another one.
Yeah. When and why did you make the switch? Is it full time NA
Yes.
stuff? Yeah, full time.
100%. You know, I've always been the person who, man, as a kid, my parents would come to the dinner table and pour half of their beer in my cup, my glass, and I'm 10 years old. Or they'd give me the first sip, and it was not abuse or anything. It was just part of it. So on my 10th birthday was the day that my brother and I are born on the same day, 3 years apart. I turned 10, he turned 7. And my mom asked us what we wanted. We wanted her chicken tacos. My mom and dad come sitting down at the dinner table with Lowenbrow, and each one had their bottles opened and reached over and poured some of their Lowenbrow beer into our glasses. I'm 10, he's 7. It doesn't matter. I've always enjoyed the taste of a beer. I still enjoy the taste of what I consume now.
Uh-huh.
It was never an issue, and as soon as somebody says that, you have to wonder if it ever was. It
Right.
was never an issue. But I do know, and I can point specifically back to when I overindulged, and the behavior wasn't good. How many times did I drive myself home and wake up the next day wondering, how did I get home?
Yeah.
You know, you grow through all these things, but even in a relationship, you realize that a lot of the problems in relationships, some people say it's usually money or something else, alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
If one person is into it and the other one is not, there's a problem. That is a problem. And when that one person that's into it, instead of drinking one beer, he wants 4.
Mm-hmm.
And with every meal and every day, you realize that it's not okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's not okay because of the way the other person is feeling. And the other person doesn't have to bring it to your attention, but you can pick up on those vibrations. And then we live in central Iowa. Every single event that goes on in central Iowa, there's a beer garden.
Yeah.
So it's just easy and it's social and it's fun. And, we met at a bar and it's just whatever. So in April of 24, I was doing a bunch of pull ups at work and I strained on the last few and I dislocated or did something to my neck. In a bad situation. I got to have an operation. To where the meds that I was put on said no alcohol. So I'm like, I still got to have me a beer. Well, I found some NAs. And because of the medicine, because of that injury, I found this path in these NAs. And there are so many that if I'm craving a Guinness, I'm going to have it. Heineken, whatever, IPAs. I like me better. I think I'm liked better here in my home.
Mm-hmm.
My relationships with my friends have not changed, but because those relationships weren't anchored around alcohol.
Yeah.
There was one relationship that was like that. I don't have it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't because of alcohol. Alcohol might have been part of that issue, but at some point in time, I just said, we're good. He and I, we're good.
Mm-hmm.
And alcohol may have been some of the backstory, which is another page in the book. But I tried drinking a beer last summer or the summer before up at the lake. I tried, and I couldn't. I got it in my mouth, couldn't even swallow it. I said, it's over.
Yeah.
And just like that, and I'm happy with it. So if I do have a craving, hey, I want a Corona. They make them, and they're good.
Yeah.
So I can have one of those, but then I don't want the second one or the third one or the fifth one. Yeah, it's a weird world, but it's good for me. Yeah, I like me better. I like everything better.
I've bounced back and forward since, because last summer we were on that rooftop at Mindy's house and I had the Coronas and A's and I've gone back to having a drink. And I don't know where I fall right now, but I think what you said about liking me better and not wanting like the third, the fourth, for me, I don't really drink at my house. It's always been a social thing.
Yeah.
And it's been a social thing since we were like 14. So thinking the same way you are at 14 when you're a 34-year-old man and behaving so, that's not good. So I think I'm not advocating for it one way or the other, but just have a look. Have a look and see, like you said, maybe I like me better. Maybe my relationship's a little bit better.
That's amazing how all of a sudden you just go, if I can trim that part of my life out, what is it what do I gain? So...
Oh, that let me stop you there because I think that's massive. What do I gain or what do I lose? I think drinking is a great way to connect. We always connect around beers, right?
Always. Yeah.
So it's how, for me, and I don't know if you were going to get into this, like maybe you can lose or trim that down, but you can't lose the connection because that will kill you faster than having a beer will kill you.
True.
Right? Loneliness is like way more detrimental for your health than it is to even smoke a cigarette with your mate or have beers, So,
so well said.
Keeping the connection is still key.
Yep. I love all of that. All that makes sense. You have to keep the connections, but Cindy and I are just learning, and it's an ongoing process that we can sit outside and enjoy each other or sit in here, whatever, and have the taste we want to go with our tacos or whatever we're eating, and not have the backstory, not have the lingering consequences. And, being an imperfect human being, there have always been some consequences and a backstory to something. And I just feel like we've really moved on. I had a glass of wine here a few months back, and it took me about an hour to drink a glass of wine. It's something about alcohol in my body now, or
it's just gone not having it.
Not having it.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed the taste of that red wine, and before I'd drink that glass in a couple of seconds, and then give me another one.
Yeah.
So learning to I enjoy the taste. It's not necessarily the alcohol, so I can make that last for a while and not feel that urge. It really is unique. I'm not special, and I know that there are a lot of people out there that when they discover something, they want to tell the world
Yeah.
how good. No, I'm not. Ahman Douglass was always going to have the first beer, the most beers, and the last beer. And he's going to be the loudest one at all the gatherings and the most charming and make the most people laugh and all that. No, I'm good.
Yeah.
It's a maturation, like we just talked about. What do you gain versus what do you lose? Some people are resistant to relationships, and sometimes the person that's one that's dug in can only think about what they will be losing if I have this relationship with you, or if I make this commitment. Excuse me. You have to stop that and start thinking, well, what do I gain? How do we complement each other? How does my life get complemented by having an NA Guinness with you
Yeah.
versus knocking back a real Guinness? Because by now I would have had my third one.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting part what you said about relationships there. What can I, instead of what am I losing, what am I gaining?
Yeah.
And then also I think we need to look at like what can I give rather what can I get in a relationship.
True.
Yeah.
True. What can I give? When I met Cindy, I wasn't thinking about what can I give. We were young adult. She was a single mom. I was never a parent, but our lives were pretty well established. And I wasn't thinking about what I can actually, how I can make you feel more complimented.
Yeah.
I'm selfish, young, full of ego, and life comes pretty easy. That's not everyone can say that. Life just comes pretty easy. So I was looking through the wrong perspective at all of it, the relationship, just life in general, looking at it wrong. And for the longest time, I looked at my career through the wrong perspective. But here I sit, and I'm in a different chapter of my life, and things are finally making sense. When you live in this world and it's high emotion, high energy, and I'm not talking about the job, but just yourself inside your own being. There's a constant. You know what that is, and you could sort it out, and you can come off to Matthew Kenton and everybody else that you got it going on, and everything is pretty tightly packaged. You know that, and there's an inner voice that's saying you're a step away from breaking. But you keep the facade going. You just keep just moving along. I had to learn to be still. So a few days after I was sitting at home, in this miserable condition with this knee replacement, I wasn't mobile. I had to learn how to be still, and that meant reading, watching documentaries, and just sometimes in total silence. Just shut everything off and just listen to a dialogue that's always been there. You just never stop to focus on what it's talking about. And it's about self. And it comes back to responsibility to self. Not just how you're going to recover from this knee thing, but how you're going to recover emotionally and be better prepared to be present and available for the people that love you. There's a lot that goes on.
People are scared of that.
Absolutely
Really scared of stopping. I know you use the word facade. I'm obviously a big personality and a big character as well. And people would never think that, this guy might be struggling or something like that, because you're the fun guy. You're the guy that's going to have the beers. You're the guy that's going to dance on the table or whatever.
Yeah.
Is this the first time that with the knee injury that you've been forced to sit and be still and have a little...
100%. Even when I was recovering from different knee procedures, I would just be away from work for a week. But there's that ego. There's that other thing that says get back. And with this role that I've had, the only person that gets to do this, and there's a lot of attention that comes, and a lot of praise, and a lot of adoration, stepping completely away from that and never looking back, wondering, well, what am I missing? Can I go back? Do I still have it? I was able to listen, internalize, be humbled, and draw a line in the sand and say, I don't want that anymore. I don't want the character that was getting the media attention, the community attention, the school. people calling, hey, Ahman, can you come do this? Can you MC this? Can you do that? I don't want that. It's over to the point where I took everything out of my closet, folded it all up nice and neatly, put it in a storage tote in the lowest level of my home. I don't even want to see it. And like I said, if you look around, there's nothing to remind me. So a few Saturdays ago, Cindy went with me to the office, and I said, hey, I'm cleaning it out. All my family pictures, all the Ahman stuff. Took it all down, and she was emotional doing that because this is the only Ahman she's ever known. She knew Ahman in the fire station, and then she got to know this Ahman. It wasn't emotional for me. It was
right.
It's over. That it wasn't fake, but that desire to satisfy all suitors, everybody that called or emailed because they want your present. There was a desire to satisfy all of that. I'd move schedules around so I wouldn't miss an opportunity to be present. For what? There was no extra pay in that. It's extra what you think is important. It's pieces that you're gathering I'm the only person that gets to do this. I'm pretty special. When you set that weight down and you exhale and push away from the table, you realize that you've been carrying things unnecessarily for a long time, and it's detrimental, and it can be harmful. If you buy into it, kind of like being an actor, if you buy into the fact that people adore you and they love you for the character you're portraying, you can't walk the earth thinking you are that character.
Right.
Played.
Yeah.
I doubt Matt Damon's going around having fights with people thinking he's still Jason Bourne. But yet, you just have to listen. There's a reality, and sometimes we keep turning our heads and not wanting to acknowledge it. Nature has a way of telling you when you're done with something, a craving, a personality trait, or a group of people. First, she'll start whispering, and then she's using a bullhorn to really get you that message. And like I said, I was at home for just a few days, and there was this humbling reality, and it wasn't, I got to get back. I got to get back.
Yeah.
They need me. I don't want it. I want to be present. I want to be available. I want to be here for Cindy, these kids. I want to be dad. I want to get groceries. I want to clean. I want to vacuum. I want to mow the yard. I'm ready for me. I'm ready for Ahman. So for 35 and a half years, that wasn't Ahman.
I spoke to someone this morning, and he had sent me a video about that last version of You Has to Die. And in the version that he sent me, the video was, you got to kill that motherfucker. You got to kill him. You got to kill him. And I sent back to him, I was like, you need to thank him for getting you where you are now.
Wow.
And let him know that he can't keep coming the rest of the way. Like, it's not like a murder. It's almost like a humble sacrifice of that guy to then move on to this next version of who you are. That was the first time I thought about it that way. Because I thought about, like, the same thing, you got to kill that old person, kill that old habits, like, kill the boy to be the man. And that death has to happen, that ego death, whatever it is. But it has to be done, like, for me, I just thought this morning, it's like, without that guy, though, you're not able to take the next step.
You should be the one on a podcast being interviewed. Yes, that's so good. That is so rich. You have to thank that person and acknowledge the fact that the person was there.
Yeah, and it's not all flowers and butterflies.
No,
like,
it's
he's done some shitty things.
Yes, there's
I'm
a lot of
my own experience.
No. Yeah.
But without him, like, wouldn't be ready to take the next step.
In a young man's journey, the other men that are in that person's landscape, whether they admit it or not, they're grabbing pieces off of that person and adding them to themselves because that's what they see and that's what they think is real. We're all guilty of that, every single one of us, and I've done that. And I realized that there are some pieces of myself that I kept grabbing that would fall off and put back on or whatever. And it's not about that. It's not about that dance anymore. It's not about that needing to satisfy someone else's whatever. It's not about that. It has to be internal. You have to have this peace. I started. So we have lots of birds that come in the yard, and I've taken a liking to filling up the bird feeders and sitting outside, sitting still and watching goldfinch and cardinals and house finches, wrens, and all these things coming in. There's a peace that comes from either sitting in a field or by a body of water or just in your own space and not having to have dialogue and negotiations with anyone just for 1 hour, 10 minutes, whatever it is. We have to find that at some point. It can't always just be this hum. My mom used to say, if you constantly rev on 1,000, your idol is going to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Taking that time away.
Yeah.
Which in the modern world is made even harder, you know. You have to go out and find time away and make time away. That's part of why I like doing this. My phone's over there, so I don't have to bloody touch it the whole
I
time.
like that.
It's nice.
I like it. Yeah.
We're getting close to the end, mate.
Oh, man.
You're getting close to being an empty nester.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about the next 10 years? And what would you go back and tell yourself 10 years ago?
So coming up on perhaps being empty nesters, we look at this, Cindy and I look at being empty nesters a little differently, I believe. There are times when I can see her holding on to Max, and it's not physically grabbing him, but it's just emotions and words, conversations, and I realize that I'm doing it too by wanting more of his time.
Uh-huh.
Pardon me. I'll ask him, hey man, sit down, let's talk. But you also have to realize that young men and dads, he'll go veer way out and come back in orbit.
Uh-huh.
Excuse me, at a later time. They've got to do their own worlds. He doesn't spend a lot of time with us. He spends a lot of time doing his thing, school, work, girlfriend, or just kind of holed up in his fort. So there are times we feel like empty nesters. There's something sad about the reality of becoming one. It means that no one still needs you to wipe their nose or tie their shoe. There's that. So when they are gone, you miss them. You miss them before they leave because you know what that next step is like because we've already lived through it ourselves, leaving our parents' homes. Cindy and I believe, we will spend a lot of time doing the things that we both want to do. She enjoys those mammoth marches. Those 20-mile hikes around the country. So we've traveled to 3 different places for those. I think we'll spend a lot of time doing that. My recreation is important to me, fishing and hunting. We'll be doing those things together, I believe. In 10 years from now, hopefully, we are both still healthy emotionally and physically and still emotionally connected and tethered to each other to where we're propping each other up, meaning motivating each other to continue being the people that we were when we met, even though we've grown through that. But hopefully, and I do say hopefully, I can say we intend to, but with all things going well with health and wise, we'll be there. Financially, bases are covered, so we're good. If I had to look back over my shoulder at 45-year-old me, I would say go left. When you know you're supposed to go left, don't go right just to see what's down that road. That's exactly what I would say to myself. And knowing that fork is coming. That fork is coming. You're supposed to go left and you know it. Don't go right just to see. Because you're going to take the long way to get back on the right path.
They say that the advice you needed 10 years ago is the advice you need today.
Perhaps, yeah. Perhaps. Someone once said to me, and I was in a setting recently, and the most profound thing I heard that I keep echoing, I say to myself, we're sitting someplace, Cindy and I and some other people, and it was a nice setting, a lot of people. And the person that was conducting this was sitting kind of tucked in a corner by us. And we're talking just like this about whatever. And he stops and he says, hey, just so you know, not everybody was kung fu fighting. And he got up and he walked away. And I sat there for a second thinking that didn't mean anything. Yes, it did. He didn't mean for it to mean anything. But what I took from that was not everybody was doing the same thing. Do you, and do it well. Not everybody was kung fu fighting.
I'm going to tell you something really freaky
Yeah,
right
come on.
now.
Come on.
Right? I haven't listened or heard to that song in years.
Carl Douglas.
And I promise you, this morning when I was sitting on the toilet, I said it.
No, come on,
I
man.
swear on my life.
Come on.
I swear on my life this morning. I haven't heard from it, listened to it in ages.
What did you say? You said
Everybody was kung fu fighting fast as lightning. That's weird. I'm telling you. Sitting on the toilet this morning before I came.
I believe you. But that is wild that we would close this with the fact that I'm telling you, not everyone
was kung fu fighting.
Some people
That's
were
so weird.
Some people were just throwing haymakers and trying to do something else, but do your own
Good way
thing.
to leave a table, that, by the way. I'm stealing
And then
that.
he got up and walked away.
Guys, not everyone was kung fu fighting. And then just go.
Then he was out. And he just rolled on. He went and did his thing. And I sat there going, I think what he means is, do you.
I'm doing it.
Do what you have to do to survive, but not everybody. That's wild.
That's crazy, man.
That was in your head this morning,
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting.
And do you know what I was thinking about? If you're singing that song but you got the words wrong, I was thinking about these manosphere guys, like work out and women are this.
Yeah.
And I was like, they're hearing something, but they're getting the words wrong. So in my head, everybody was kung fu fighting, and they were saying something like, "I love reading and writing" instead of fast as lightning. That's what I was thinking this morning. That's crazy, right?
Wow. Yeah.
Mate, I know you've probably got a million anecdotes for life. But the last question is, what is your, maybe a saying that keeps coming back, that keeps showing up in your life? Just little words to live by.
Okay, so Billy Idol, 1984, Eyes Without a Face. He says, I spend so much time believing all the lies to keep the dreams alive. Done. Right there. You can take that for what it is. 1984, his song, he said that. And that is most of our realities, that we spend so much time believing all the other things that are said to us just to keep the dream alive. Just like that. And, it's a catchy little part of a song that doesn't mean anything, but I think about that. I think about my kids, and I think about how do they, if somebody were to say, Max or Audrey, Delaney, Keegan, make this sentence, make it make sense to you, what would they say? Would they point back to us as parents and say, I spend so much time believing all the lies to keep my dreams alive? Well, what are the lies and what are your dreams? You have to answer both of those things no matter where you are in life. What are the lies and what are the dreams? And if you want to say, well, let's talk about the lies, well, are they lies? Because your perception is your reality.
Yeah.
If you go to a magic show and you walk out of there going, I can't believe David Blaine just did that. If he doesn't come back and explain to you what he did, then that magic, that lie, is your reality.
That's magic, yeah.
Yeah. So why not walk the earth believing those lies to keep those dreams alive?
That sort of comes back to this theme of like, find you.
Yeah.
Find you and take responsibility for you.
Yep.
And it feels like that's what you've done, and even more, and you're still doing it. You're still doing it at 55. It's not something that's completed.
No, and trying to get better daily, trying to find moments throughout the day to be more appreciative of all the things. And I don't mean material things. This stuff can come and go, but just how often is it that we take inventory of the people that love us? I don't mean get on the phone or send out a mass email and ask everybody, hey, do you guys love me? But just to stop and be present in the lives of the people that love you. That's all we have. We don't have houses and cars and phones and computers. We have love that other people are willing to share with us. This stuff can all go away. I started doing this not this long ago, and this is interesting. Ask the men in your life why they're there. Why are you my friend? And if somebody comes back with, well, you're funny, you're charming, they're on the surface.
Yeah.
Because what happens if you have a medical setback and your personality changes and you're no longer funny? You know, what happens if the looks go away? Does the woman or man that loves you, do they go away? So start asking people on occasions, why do you call me friend? I know why I call you friend. And if a man, doesn't matter what gender they are, but if someone can look you in the eye and say, because you love me, that's why I'm your friend. You are giving way more to that human being than you know. And that's what needs to carry us to tomorrow, whether it's relationships with coworkers, neighbors, children, spouses, whomever. Find out what somebody benefits from calling you theirs.
That is perfect to end it, mate. As I said, I was writing, before I wrote the questions, I wrote down, like, what am I going to say at the end? You know, and one, it's been an absolute pleasure and honor to have you on.
Thank you.
But you have this infectious smile and the energy that you probably heard a million times. And I was like, well, but what is it? Like, I was trying to put it into words, how that you make me feel. And it's a boy-like joy and curiosity that you have. Like, you could be asking me, like, what did you have for breakfast? But it makes me feel like you really care.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And it's done with the presence still of a father, though. And I've always felt that from you. And I think we vibrate at a same level where we're big energy, charismatic people. But I've seen you do that to everyone. And when you're listening to them, you make them feel so special. And, like, that is part of what being a great man is making sure that person feels like you've got their full attention and they are the world right now. So
thank you for that.
Thank you.
I've taken a lot of time in asking people things about themselves. And there's a joke that goes around the fire department that there are 311 people on the payroll, and Ahman Douglass knows 308 people's hometowns. Because those are things that I find interesting. I want to learn little things about a person. And they say, yeah, but you're going to recall that when you see them in 2 years. What you said was very complimentary, and I appreciate that. But I do have a curiosity about people and how we all end up in the same spaces. You came from a whole different part of the world, but here you are.
In Des Moines, Iowa.
But you've made an impression on my family, my children, my wife. They just have this ideology that you're just this ray of sunlight that's always beaming and positive and willing to give. I'm learning this about you. But everyone has a story. And if you can get someone to talk for a split second about their story, they will eventually bring you to today. If I ask my friend, what was the name of your second grade teacher? And if he can answer it like that, I'm going to ask, well, what's so memorable about that person? Why was she sitting right there and you're able to talk about them? Eventually, you'll tell me that you ran high hurdles at Iowa State University and at Memphis State University. And eventually, you'll tell me about being a social worker. I shouldn't have to ask. You'll just come into yourself. But you have a story that needs to be heard and shared.
Not all of it. Not all of it, let me tell you.
No, not every. Are we still recording?
Yeah, we're done.
Yeah,
Mate, we're done though. Thank you so much. That was perfect.
My pleasure, man. You are good at what you do, and there's a reason you're doing it.
Brilliant.